Oh, we're here for some Lamar talk. Never fails. I thought 4 weeks into the season, we kind of didn't get a lot of Lamar stuff, just kind of let him fill stuff out, new offense, injuries to the running backs, injuries to tight ends. We're going to let him cook a little bit, and then we'll get to it. But all it took was what could be perceived to be a bad loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And oh, they came quick, fast, in a hurry. The naysayers are back about Lamar Jackson. We'll talk about it. You gotta see him. He is the A block, much like some of your favorite debate shows today. He is indeed the A block. Then we got Brock Purdy and the 49ers putting the whooping up on America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. Patriots looking flabby and sick. Bill Belichick's being called a fraud. People are calling for his head up in Beantown. Is that really a thing? Is Air Force One craft really going to get Billy Hoodie Belichick about the paint? We'll see. And plus, throughout this stream, whether you're watching this live on a replay, hit me with your hot takes. Your overreaction hot takes. But with all that being said, let me start this stream the right way. Feeling good, feeling great. Feeling great, feeling good. How are you? Welcome into Timeline T. I am your host, D. Sam D, aka Sam Duzman Jr. It's been a minute, but Timeline T is back. A lot of things going on. Life has indeed been lifing. We're going to make this a good stream, a concise stream. We're not going to waste too much of your time just waiting to make sure whoever's going to pull up can pull up. Hopefully notifications have gone out. I know some people have been hitting me saying they haven't been getting notifications. So hopefully it's kind of a test to see if that is still a thing that's happening. We'll touch on that whenever that comes to be. All right, so salute to those who are able to check this out live on the replay. Tap in, subscribe button is down there. Be gentle with it, but make sure you do tap it. This will be going around the NFL. We do have a game going on tonight, the Raiders and the Packers. No real big implications on the line, in my opinion. It's kind of a mid game, to be quite honest. No Aaron Jones for the Packers tonight. Devontae Adams will play for the Raiders. Fantasy implications, if that's a thing for you. So we'll go ahead and we'll tap in, because I think this Lamar thing, Lamar. Some of you might have found this channel because of all the Lamar stuff from this past offseason. But let's go ahead and tap in with Lamar. All right, so here we go again with the Lamar Jackson saga. Like I said, I thought after 4 weeks or through 4 weeks, we haven't really been getting a lot of anti-Lamar rhetoric because J.K. Dobbins gets that ACL blown out week 1. Mark Andrews didn't even play. He's been battling through injuries. Odell Beckham has missed time. So there's been a lot of inconsistency in this offense that we were all kind of waiting to see Lamar Jackson unleashed. That's literally a video that I have here on this channel. Lamar Jackson unleashed because of them adding all the weapons, because of Todd Monken coming in and saying, I'm going to give you the power to call checks at the line and slide pass protection. I'm going to allow you to do all of that. So a lot of us were under the impression Lamar got the bag, even though it went through some nefarious ways to get to it. He ultimately gets the bag, and now they're actually giving him help, something that they have not done historically. So now with a competent OC, not Greg Roman anymore, with a competent OC, sky should be the limit for Lamar Jackson. But then J.K. Dobbins goes out there and gets injured, done for the year after 1 game. Mark Andrews has missed time already, battling through injuries. Odell Beckham, who was thought to be, on the mend, coming into camp fully healthy, coming into preseason healthy, has looked anything but through 5 weeks. So much so that allegedly rookies are talking trash to him, but some of your favorite social media accounts got with that. That did not happen. But the fact of the matter is, on a fade route to Odell Beckham, on a ball that was underthrown, that's what cost the game for the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson entrusted to throw the ball to their newly acquired big-time target albeit in a weird route formation because a fade route at this point in his career to OBJ. That's not the route tree I want on OBJ's tree. I don't want a fade on hit now corner fade, post corner fade. You could talk me into that, but just a straight up fade. That's not the route I want on OBJ's route tree at this point in his career. But it is what it is. He made the throw. It wasn't a good throw anyway. OBJ would have had to go back into the DeLorean, into the hot tub time machine, and go back to his Giants days to make a play on that ball anyway. But ultimately, that's the play that cost them. And while you would think, all right, look, OBJ is battling through injuries. They're already down to Gus Edwards as their running back and Justice Hill. So clearly, the health has been an issue. It's been an issue on the offensive line as well. You would think that there would be some grace to, okay, 5 games in, look, they're still 3-2, and the schedule has not been easy. All right, this is a good sign that with all the injuries, the offense looks nowhere near to being complete because of the injuries, and probably can't be because of the year-long missing of now J.K. Dobbins. But you would think there'll be some grace given to one Lamar Jackson. But no. Just a wee 24 hours after week 5, after a Sunday in which Lamar played well and was drop after drop after drop by his own receiving core, people are actually questioning Lamar. And we have to go, as we always do, we have to go straight to the timeline here. And this is the problem. Y'all see it. Ravens receivers have 7+ wide open drops, including multiple touchdowns from Lamar Jackson. National media headline, are Ravens getting money's worth from Lamar? And that's kind of the problem of this whole thing in regards to where the industry is. To get your clicks, to get your attention, to get you to engage with their content, this is what they have to do. Not the fact that the Steelers had a big time come from behind victory. Not the fact that TJ Watt looks to be unstoppable. None of that. Not that Kenny Pickett, who's in the background of this graphic, not that Kenny Pickett actually played worth a damn. Not that long ago, prior, people were calling him out saying maybe he's not the guy in Pittsburgh. Maybe they had the wrong draft pick. None of that was the storyline. The storyline is, hey, look, Lamar got all this money, $260 million, of which, as you see only here, only $185 million is guaranteed. Are they getting his money's worth? Well, how can you get your money's worth when the targets that you were, the receivers that were brought in, the weapons that were brought in to finally give you some help, betray you in a big spot on the road? Because if you add in those drops, Lamar with the drops was 22 of 38 for 236 yards and no touchdowns. If you add in the drops, he was 29 of 38 for 353 yards, and that's at an absolute minimum. This assumes 0 yak. 29 of 38, 353 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews dropped 1, and Aguilar, who, we keep waiting on Aguilar. It's just not going to happen, bro. He's just not that dude. Let me go ahead and move this down a little bit. He's just not that dude. Okay? So Andrews dropped 1 for sure. And then you had Aguilar, which was a real backbreaker because he was wide ass open, doing the one thing that Nelson Aguilar is good at, and that's running go routes. The one thing that he's good at, going vertical, and he couldn't even make that happen. So when you look at the weapons that were supposed to be brought in to elevate Lamar to the next level, to make him more of a quarterback, this is what we get. 7 drops. 7 wide open drops. Yet the headline is, are Ravens getting money's worth from Lamar? It gets worse. Lamar Jackson, 93.4 passing grade in week 5, would have ranked first. And that's including, so there's 93.4 passing grade, which was first. Brock Purdy had the highest passer rating from week 5, but passing grade in week 5 was Lamar Jackson. And that includes the Ravens' 7 drops yesterday. And again, those are just the wide open ones. We're not talking about the contested ones where maybe guys could have made a play. This is actually guys that were wide ass open making a drop. So 93.4 passing grade. And the Ravens had 7 of those drops. That's included in that, okay? So, again, if we add in just the 7 drops with no yak, he's throwing for 350 and a couple of tutties. And he's 29 of 38. And they blow the doors off the Steelers. But because of those 7 drops, no touchdowns, only a pedestrian 236 yards, and now we got national shows saying, are the Ravens getting their money's worth? This is how shows get built. This is how narratives get created. This is how fans get their education from, and when they're in group chats, when they're in, live streams like this, when they're out and about with their friends acting knowledgeable, this is the stuff that they regurgitate back. These are the talking points that they're going to use. And that's why it's hella problematic, because the answer or the question should not be, are the Ravens getting their money's worth from Lamar? The question should be, how good could the Ravens be if their targets, if their weapons that they thought they were bringing in to help Lamar actually play up to the part? Lamar has shown us he can get this team to a certain point on his own. They finally paid him. He had his moment in the sun where he got the bag. And then they went out there and got him weapons. Zay Flowers has shown to be proven to be the right choice. Mark Andrews has shown to be, even though he's coming off injuries, he's playing through pain, but he's still that guy. But I was told during the summer, Bateman's supposed to be a guy. I was told Bateman is supposed to be a guy, excellent route runner, this, that, and the third. I haven't seen it yet. OBJ, they gave him 15 mil. No other team was trying to give him that 15 mil guaranteed. And now I'm kind of starting to see why. Not necessarily that OBJ is washed, but in terms of, is he living off of his highlights? Is he living off of prior years' highlights at this point in his career? I'm not seeing the separation. I went back and watched the game. I didn't see a lot of separation. And I've gone back and watched a lot of their, through week 5. I think I've rewatched 3 of their games. I haven't gotten through all through 5, but I rewatched yesterday's game and the last 3. I didn't get back to watch the first 2 yet. Not a lot of separation from OBJ. And yes, he's missed time, and that's fair, but if it's just going to be Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, while certainly Zay Flowers is dynamic and you could definitely scheme stuff up, but with no J.K. Dobbins, so you're losing a dynamic playmaker out the backfield. You still have old reliable and Mark Andrews. And now you add in Zay Flowers. But now Bateman's not that. Bateman's not proven to be a playmaker, not at this point. Y'all were telling me about Isaiah Likely and that Monk is going to use 2 tight end sets and Likely is going to cook. Look out for Isaiah Likely. That's all I kept hearing. I almost drafted him in fantasy late in the draft because y'all kept telling me, yo, Isaiah Likely. And then Andrews misses week 1. Guess what? I went out there and scooped up on waivers for the low. Isaiah Likely. All right, I'll give him a chance. 1 game sample size, and he was mid. I think he gave me absolutely 0 points. And that's in a PPR league. Okay? So Isaiah Likely ain't it. So Bateman ain't it. Isaiah Likely ain't it. And while we could talk about us, I see you, Derpy. We're here in the chat. As much as I could sit here and say, we need to go ahead and worry about what Lamar can do and is he the guy, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, we could talk about the fumble. Certainly not a great play on his part. None of this is to absolve Lamar of anything. What I'm talking about is the narrative that's being shaped. Because the narrative that's being shaped to me is more about what the Steelers were able to pull off than what the Ravens did. This is more about the Steelers getting this win than the Ravens getting this L. Kenny Pickett was on the hot seat. Tomlin, there was starting to be some actual legitimate whispers about Tomlin. Is this off Matt Canada? Enough said, like, All of this was happening around the Steelers, and then they found a way. Now, yes, the Ravens helped them, and Lamar did help them with that fumble late. No doubt about it. But the 7 drops, to me, were more impactful towards losing that game for the Ravens than the fumble that Lamar had late. Because those 7 drops, if we add in those 7 drops and make them completions, they have 14 more points, minimum. Minimum. This could be 3 touchdowns. Because one of those drops was also looking to be a breakaway. But if we're going to keep going on and on and on about are the Ravens getting their money's worth from Lamar, it's ignoring what happened prior to that. It's ignoring context. At some point, context has to matter when we're dissecting games, especially a Monday after a Sunday game. The information is fresh. We just saw it. So to watch that game via Red Zone for me, I didn't sit there and watch that whole game from beginning to end. Maybe Derpy, who's a Steelers guy, can tap in and give us more of a breakdown. But for me, as someone that was keeping up with it for fantasy reasons and through Red Zone, I didn't see anything that kept making it seem like this was on Lamar. I kept seeing a Steelers bunch that would not go away, that took advantage of opportunities late, and a Ravens squad that let their quarterback down with 7+ open drops. So to me, the furthest thing from my mind is, are the Ravens getting their money's worth? But you know what's going to get you clicks? You know what's going to make you stop when you're, channel surfing? Is people saying, are the Ravens getting the money's worth from Lamar? Why? Because the undercurrent is that Lamar shouldn't have got that money. There is a definite undercurrent of fans in the NFL, casual to hardcore, that feel like Lamar Jackson should not have gotten the $260 million contract, of which 185 of it is guaranteed this offseason. So because of that, if you keep bringing up Lamar's money, it's polarizing. I learned that on this YouTube channel. I thought I was just talking my talk about Lamar, and I had people coming at me all types of ways. Pause. But it ran the numbers up and got me a ton of subscribers and all that type of fancy shit. And I was like, I'm just talking about Lamar because this is what I'm talking about with the homies. But it struck a chord here. It struck a chord here on YouTube, and there was people in both camps. There were people that were very clear pro-Lamar. And then there were people that were very clear anti-Lamar. And they would be going at it in the chat during the live streams and even in the comments on the replay. So Lamar is that type of polarizing figure that when he was doing okay, when the team was doing mid, you didn't hear that much about it. But a big loss, a loss where they blew a good-sized lead late, division rival, all of that, on the road, all of that. This is what you get. Because it gets you clicks. And as I click, we're looking at a guy that, again, this, if we add in, make the drops catches, you're talking about a guy that threw for 350, 2 touchdowns, and 45 yards rushing. That's almost 400 yards all purpose. But look at what he had here. 11 targets to Zay Flowers, 10 for Mark Andrews. Y'all kept telling me Bateman was supposed to be a guy. Let me stretch this out. Let me condense it so y'all can see it. Yep, there we go. Bateman was supposed to be a guy. 3 targets. Odell, whether he's on his last legs or whatever, only 4 targets. And Aguilar, the 1 target he didn't catch was the biggest one of all. And we didn't even talk about the fumble. But he caught 4 receptions on 5 targets. But the most important one was the 1 target he couldn't corral, which was the deep ball, which is the only reason why he's on the football field, is that deep ball. So it's problematic. Meanwhile, we're looking past what Kenny Pickett was able to do. This offense is hamstrung because of Canada. So much so that, I'm sure Derpy peeped it, but they had the camera on the offensive coordinating room or the booth during the game, And on that touchdown, which was improvised, the touchdown to Pickens was improvised by Kenny Pickett. So Pickett to Pickens, that was improvised. And Canada had nothing to do with that call, and he was tight in that booth. He didn't even want to give it up that his team won the game, that his offense actually had a big play that was vertical. He didn't even want to give it up for Pickett and Pickens figuring out something on the fly in a 2-minute offense and getting the dub. How is this man still employed? I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm going to hit the chat real quick. I see Derpy's in the house. Let me go ahead and switch this up. Where we at here? We'll go here with it. All right, Derpy, let's get you up here. For once, I'm not going to say a word as a Steelers fan. Yep, okay. Well, now I kind of want you to, because I would love your perspective in terms of what you saw from the game as a Steelers fan. You know, to me, you know, I've made the point already, but I'm trying to make it so that it shouldn't be necessarily about what Lamar and are the Ravens getting the money's worth. The Steelers played a hell of a game. Defense played tough, hung tough. TJ Watt was unguardable, as he has been whenever he's healthy. He's a difference maker. He's that much of a difference maker. So to me, it shouldn't be about are the Ravens, you know, having buyer's remorse about the contract with Lamar Jackson. It's about, yes, 7+ drops, wide ass open for the Ravens. Also, the Steelers played a hell of a game to come back. Oh, this is part 2. So for once, I'm not going to say a thing as a Steelers fan and be humble about it. Okay, I'm waiting. All right, so we have this when it comes to Lamar, right? We talked about a 93.4 passing grade in week 5. And you see here, there's a little bit of a discrepancy, 93.4 and 94.6. Whatever it is, it was a season high in the first amongst all QBs in week 5, okay? And then when it comes down to it, when it comes to this media thing, it comes down to who can you trust? Where are they getting their sourcing from? And so we have the big play. I talked about it earlier about the fade route, the infamous fade route that, you know, Joey Porter Jr. basically undercut OBJ because the ball wasn't thrown high enough or deep enough to the corner of the end zone. So again, they're doing a corner fade to OBJ in the year 2023. Very weird to me. But anyway, they throw the corner fade. It didn't go as planned. The ball was underthrown. OBJ didn't even really react to the rock to try to play DB on the ball, and it got picked off very easily. And because it was a big moment and went viral, everyone's jumping in, including people who want to gotcha, including people who want to troll. And this account that's been known for trolling jumped out there and said that Joey Porter Jr. told, as you see here, let me get my, hang on a second, get my zoom in thing so y'all can see that. All right, cool. So you got the zoom in. Go be a family man. What Joey Porter Jr. told OBJ. So this account, which is known to be a troll, got this company, which is supposed to be one of the biggest aggregators on social media. Okay. That company got by a known troll and put this out on their platform, as you see, very quickly. Go be a family man. And guess what? Yeah. When you got caught by a troll, because immediately everything started running. People started running to the mentions like, yo, you know who that is, right? Like, y'all know who y'all just y'all know who y'all just sourced? Y'all know who y'all just took that information from? A known troll. And then they went and finally did the science instead of just trying to jump in and try to steal all the clicks from someone who's putting out information. Go be a family man. Anyway. this is what it comes to when it comes to this game for me. Kenny Pickett made a play. He made a play late. He made a play that made me think, okay, maybe he's starting to get it. That play to Pickens said a lot. Because again, look at this. 10 targets. Now, Allen Robinson, low-key has been playing, I won't say well, but he's getting a lot more love than I thought. And I know Deontay Johnson is out. But Allen Robinson, who I thought and who has looked like he's on the scrap heap, he's more than serviceable at this point right now, okay? 10 targets for Pickens, 9 for Allen Robinson, no Freiermuth. The whole thing with Harris and Warren hasn't really figured itself out. You see that here. So this offense is stuck in the mud. But because the defense kept them in the mix by making big stops, big key stops, and also aided by the 7+ drops from the Baltimore Ravens, including at least 2 touchdowns, they had a chance to steal the game, and they stole it. And when you're looking at what Pittsburgh was able to do, they got after it. They kept Lamar relatively in check from a running perspective. And that's kind of what I would like to know about Todd Monken. Because through these first 5 games, if we want to get to parsing the numbers, the running has been sporadic. And that's always been my concern when a coordinator gets their hands, on Lamar Jackson is, are they going to make him less than what he is? So through 5 games, he's got 47 attempts. So that averages out to roughly about 10 a game, just under 10 a game. And through 5 games, 265 yards. That's not a lot of rushing yards, okay? That's not a lot. That's about 50+ yards. And you see here in years prior, 80 yards. The year he won the MVP, 80 yards. And he's been in the 60s ever since. Now you're talking about 50s. I think the way you back break defenses with this offense is you still have Lamar out here running for this type of yardage. And then you give him weapons. But if the only new weapon is Zay Flowers, that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough. Y'all told me Bateman was supposed to be a guy. Y'all told me Isaiah Likely was supposed to be a guy. Neither one of them are looking to be a guy. And the $260 million man, which is really $185 million guaranteed, he's going to be the one taking all the hits in the media. No one's airing out Bateman today. No one's airing out Isaiah Likely today. It's Lamar Jackson getting aired out, and it's unjust. It's unjust that he was let down by the weapons that y'all were clamoring for over these last couple of years. It's a joke, actually, the fact that we have people that are paid a lot of money out here tearing down Lamar Jackson. 7+ wide open drops. And I believe one of them was for Mark Andrews for a touchdown. Aguilar on the go route, and then Andrews, those were the 2 touchdowns. And that's minimum 2 touchdowns. Because there were other plays that could have broke and went for 6 as well. So while I'm looking at Bateman, I'm looking at Likely, no one else is, because this guy is being paid $260 million, which is actually $185 million guaranteed. And he had the big fumble and all of that. So, I mean, I understand why. If you're just looking at box scores and then the salary on Spot Track, I understand why you only want to talk about Lamar. If you would have actually watched the game, instead of wearing jerseys on TV, you would understand that there was a lot more going on in this game outside of, Lamar fumbled late and he didn't throw for any touchdowns. Are the Ravens getting their money's worth? Mind you, the team is 3-2. And if you really want to look at this schedule, with the injuries that they have already faced, We go out there and they beat the Browns in a big win. All was quiet. They take the loss to the Ravens. Let's see who didn't play. They took the loss to the Colts, excuse me. Let's see who did not play. We know J.K. Dobbins didn't play. Odell Beckham did not play. And Mark Andrews there, okay. And there's your man's Likely. So between Likely and Bateman, 5 targets, only 2 receptions. Okay. So this is the problem. If the biggest upgrade on offense is Zay Flowers, that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be it. If that's all they got is some Zay Flowers, while it's cute, it's not going to work. When the Ravens were 2-0, how come they weren't asking, is Lamar Jackson worth the money? When the Ravens were 2-0 after beating the Bengals, a lot of experts picked to win that whole division. When the Ravens were 2-0, how come the pundits and the experts weren't asking, are the Ravens getting their money's worth? When Lamar's throwing for 2 tutties, it's similar stats. If you really want to, it's 50 yards rushing and 230 passing, except for he had 2 touchdown passes. He would have had 2 yesterday, but they were dropped. So similar stats, different outcome in the game. Again, a close win, similar stats, they don't say anything. Similar stats in a loss, are the Ravens getting their money's worth? Understand the game that is being played right in front of you. That's the game. They played the result. These are similar numbers across the board to what Lamar had yesterday, except for this was in a week 2 victory over the Bengals, but because it was in a week 5 loss to the Steelers, it's hellfire and brimstone. Are the Ravens getting their money's worth from Lamar? I just wanted y'all to see that. All right, let's go ahead and talk about these 49ers. The 49ers are out here in a major way. And look, I can't hold you. I still think Brock Purdy is a game manager, but he is playing game manager at a level that I haven't seen in a very long time, probably since Russell Wilson in that first Seahawks championship. That first Seahawks championship, Russell Wilson was playing game manager at quarterback. And yeah, that was at a high level. Just don't mess it up. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like Brock Purdy is kind of on that same trajectory, right? Now look, Dallas beset by injuries on both sides of the ball, but that defense that looked like gangbusters as they just destroyed the Jets and the Giants opening up the season, they haven't looked the same since, to be quite honest. They have not looked the same since. We could get into all of that, but the focus, as it should be, is on Brock Purdy. And the reason why it's on Brock Purdy is because you put up these type of numbers, we're going to talk about you. 17 to 24, 250, 4 TDs, no interceptions, only 1 sack. You know, a perfect passer rating, damn near, $144. Look, Purdy, I'm still going to make the case of you have a top-tier play caller. You have elite talent everywhere. You should be putting up these numbers. Now, the thing with Shanahan's offense, and you probably have heard it, but it bears repeating here. What Shanahan's system does is whatever your QB is at, he can bump you up a level. If you're mid, he could bump you up to above average. If you're above average, he could bump you up to good, et cetera, right? So I don't know where Brock Purdy would have been in the scale of, is he mid? Is he below average? Is he trash? Is he good? Is he great? I don't know what he would have been, but all the scouts, including the 49ers scouts, passed on him for 6 straight rounds. So the fact that he was the absolute last pick in the draft tells me that a lot of teams, the 49ers included, did not hold Brock Purdy in high regard. Okay? Because if they really thought he was going to be this, he would not have been the last pick in the draft. And it's not like after they drafted him, they had the gumption to be like, yep, let's go ahead and move on from everybody because now we got our guy, Mr. Irrelevant. He's going to be the guy to take us to the promised land. They had no such idea that he was going to be this. So because of that, we're all kind of hesitant to jump out there and say Brock Purdy is the shit. Because if every team, including the 49ers, passed on him for 6 rounds, and then the 49ers with the absolute last pick of the draft, guys that normally don't even make the roster, is now starting and is now fresh off of a championship game appearance before getting hurt, now looks to be a guy that is in MVP talks. They didn't see this coming. They didn't know this was going to happen. They didn't know this is what they were taking with the last pick of the draft. But now here we are. When you surround him with Deebo Samuels, when you surround him with Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle and Christian McCaffrey with a good offensive line and a top-tier play caller and a still really good defense, yes, Brock Purdy can lead you to a 5-0 record. But there's a shift now to figure out, no, I actually think Brock Purdy's good. And I don't know how anyone can come to that conclusion. Because the metrics are so skewed towards this being an easy system. Because again, look who has flourished in this Shanahan system. You talk about Matty Ice was an MVP in this system. Jimmy Garoppolo almost took this team to a Super Bowl. And that was before Christian McCaffrey. So as much as we just want to say, all right, Brock Purdy's nice, man. He's done it too many times. He's nice. I still kind of want to pump the brakes on that. Now, has he shown me something? For sure. He's shown me way more than Desmond Ridder. He has shown me way more than Sam Howell. But Sam Howell doesn't have what Brock Purdy has. Desmond Ridder doesn't have what Brock Purdy has in terms of skill sets and weapons. So it's hard for me to co-sign that now Brock Purdy is actually good when I haven't seen him without elite playmakers everywhere. I've seen Desmond Ridder without playmakers. It ain't good. And I'm seeing him now with playmakers, and it's a bunch of mid. If Brock Purdy was this good, why did he last to the 7th round and the very last pick of the draft? Why am I now supposed to be so sold that Brock Purdy is a franchise QB? Why? And I'm not going to make the take of, well, take Mac Jones and put him in his offense, you get the same result. I have no idea. And I think that's the problem. We're all reacting to week by week. This guy played good, that means he's great. This guy played bad or mediocre, that means he's trash. That's what we're doing every single week. Brock Purdy has played flawless. He has still yet to lose a game where he has started and finished. But no other QB has walked into a situation where the offense is elite, the play calling is elite, and the defense is elite. So what do you do with that when it comes to analysis? What do you do with that when it comes to actually trying to figure out, is this person good? So I'll leave it up to y'all. Is Brock Purdy actually good? And not good in the sense of game managing. Is he good as in he's a good QB? He's top 10. Is Brock Purdy a top 10 quarterback? Y'all can answer in the chat live, or if you're watching this on a replay, in the comments. I'm not ready to say Brock Purdy is top 10. He is playing like a quarterback that's top 10, But you can't. It's like grading on a curve. There's no way you can't grade Brock Purdy's performance on a curve. There's no way you can't do that. What CJ Stroud has done has been more impressive than what Brock Purdy has done. And it's because CJ Stroud does not have CJ Stroud does not have George Kittle. He does not have Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Shanahan calling plays. He doesn't have all of that. And he's still going out there and putting up numbers with Nico Collins, Robert Woods. CJ Stroud has looked more impressive to me this early than what Brock Purdy has done. I judge the quarterback off of what can you do with the pieces around you. Are you a one-man gang, or can you make guys better? I've seen none of that from Brock Purdy. The thing is, I don't know if he can do it because all he's been surrounded by gems. He's been surrounded by top-tier talent, so I can't call it. I can't call it whatsoever. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this 49ers thing goes. I think if you're the Niners, it's about game management. If you're Brock Purdy, he's on the cheapest deal of all time because he was the last pick in the draft. So you can go give Kittle his money when it's time. They've already given McCaffrey his bread, although he'll be up again soon. I believe Deebo got his bread. I think Ayuk has to get his bread. Like, they could pay everybody. Trent Williams is going to want his bag. The defense got to bring those guys back. All those guys are going to cash checks because Brock Purdy is out here on a 7th-round pick contract. '49ers are the best team in the league. By far. By far. Like, it's not even close, to be quite honest with you. I think the Eagles are right there. And then obviously you have to talk about the Dolphins, but I'm not sold. And after week 1, I told y'all, like, I don't think the Chiefs are it. They may get back to the Super Bowl, but I don't see them winning it. Especially if they play San Francisco. If they could face Philly again, I could see them potentially beating Philly again. But if they face San Fran, I think it's a cakewalk for the 49ers right now. They're that far and away the best team in the NFL to me. And low-key, look at the Bears with the top 2 picks again, just saying. But in terms of where do we go from here if you're the 49ers, right? There's going to be a chance for them to make an improvement at that position. There's going to be a chance for them to make an improvement at that position, whether it's free agency or via trade. Because remember, they almost traded for Kirk Cousins during this past offseason. They almost traded for Kirk Cousins. Okay? So even though everyone is telling us now how guaranteed Brock Purdy is about being a top 10 QB and Shanahan is a genius and et cetera, they were willing to trade for Kirk Cousins this past offseason. Anywho, we'll slide over to the Patriots real quick. So obviously the bloom is off the rose in New England. 1-4. Belichick, that offense, which was thought to be better because they have a real OC and Bill O'Brien as opposed to the disaster that was the Matt Patricia nonsense last year. The Patriots were supposed to have an offense. Certainly a better one than last year, but as you see, 32nd out of 32nd. Can't get no lower. Can't get no lower. Can't get no lower than dead last. Okay? Now, the defense hasn't been as great, but they've also been beset by injuries, so you let them slide. Obviously, the kid Christian Gonzalez out for the year. Matt Judon's been out. Like, look at the injuries here. All the injuries here are primarily, damn near exclusively, on defense. Okay, Flowers is a rotation guy. Like, if you look at these pieces, these are all relevant pieces. So what do you do with Mac Jones? Bailey Zappi has come in twice now. He's played in 2 games in relief of a ineffective Mac Jones, and everyone is kind of saying, well, it's time to make that switch. And then my thing is to switch to what? Kendrick Bourne flashed early. He's supposed to be the number 1 receiver. He's got the most targets, but 5 games, where he's only started 2, by the way. 5 games, 33 targets. That's not enough. That's not enough if you're actually trying to have an offense that has a real number 1 wide receiver. The target share is nasty here. This is a bad offense. Devontae Parker was supposed to be a guy that they brought in that's supposed to stretch the field vertically. 19 targets through 4 games. That is not enough. This is really nasty work, man. Ramondre Stevenson's been hurt. Zeke is washed, so they really don't have an answer in the running game. So Mac Jones appears to be mid. What makes you think your man's Bailey Zappi is going to be any better? Is this just a classic thing of the backup QB just put him in? Change of energy, gives the offense a spark nonsense. Is that what we're doing? And the narrative of, is Bill Belichick washed? And people are bringing up his record. He's under 500 when he doesn't have Tom Brady. I mean, we're looking past the fact that he went 11-5 when Brady was out for the year with Matt Castle. So he can have success without Brady. You know what the main issue is in New England is that they don't have all the pieces that they used to have. The Patriot way is a thing that's gone. No one gives a shit about the Patriots no more. Players aren't going to sacrifice and just take a short on a contract just because it's the Patriots. They have to actually pay for their talent now instead of getting dudes hypnotized by the culture in the rings like it's the Miami Heat in basketball. The Patriot way was a real thing, a la Heat culture. And Bob Kraft and Belichick and Brady, they would come out there and say, look, Tom Brady takes pay cuts. Why can't you? Tom Brady's the MVP of the league and he takes a pay cut. What makes you think we should overpay market value for you? They only did that with one person, I believe, and that was Darrelle Revis. And then they only did that for 1 year. Randy Moss, they got on the cheap. And when they drafted well and guys turned out to be stars, they knew when to get rid of dudes. They would probably get them a year before their free agency when they still had some value left. So they haven't been able to have that combination of a franchise guy that's going to take shorts like Brady. They're not hitting on the, oh my God, Randy Moss for what, a 5th round pick or some shit like that? They got Randy Moss for a 5th, 6th round pick? They're not getting layups like that. And they're not drafting guys to the point where they can flip them for bigger value down the line. So it's a combination of things. If you just want to focus on Bill Belichick, then cool. But to me, it's way more than that. The whole thing of the Patriots way has been debunked because the talent's not there. You don't have a franchise QB that's willing to take shorts. And you can't hypnotize these dudes with the allure of playing in Foxborough. Because let's be real, who wants to do that? What player worth a damn wants to go be a Patriot? So I think the Patriot thing is a little bit of a foregone conclusion. I think it's a wrap. So this last segment is straight up just hot takes, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the standings, pick a team, and just give a hot take. And y'all can feel free to give your own hot takes. Your hottest take through the first 5 weeks of the NFL season go ahead and drop it in the chat, or if you're watching this on the replay, drop it in the comments. So let's go to the Lions. Let's give a hot take about the Lions. Here's my hot take about the Lions. No team outside of the 49ers wants to play them in the playoffs. I will say that again. No team outside of the 49ers wants to play them in the playoffs. And I never thought in all my years I would be saying this about a Detroit Lions team. I never thought so. The Detroit Lions are a complete football team. And if they're able to get you at home in that dome, it's different. But they proved to you on opening night against Kansas City at Arrowhead that they could go get a dub on the road as well. Ben Johnson is one of those coordinators that they're so lucky he didn't take that gig and that he came back to be an OC for another year because he felt they have something special in Detroit. And if it wasn't for the dominance of the San Francisco 49ers, I would be willing to put them right up there with Philly. I would be. As the class of the NFC. Hutchinson is a monster on defense. The offense is clicking. They just got Jamison Williams back. Gibbs did not play, but David Montgomery has kind of filled in with that Jamal Williams role of just being the guy to get all the touchdowns on the ground. 6 touchdowns through 4 games already. And the passing game hasn't really clicked here. If you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, target share is not where you'd want it to be. Laporta came up big. They traded away Hawkinson within the division, and I felt that was a crazy move, but they spun the block and got Laporta, I believe, in the second round, and he's been gangbusters. So I think right now, I stand on it. Outside, and that goes for AFC as well. Outside of the San Francisco 49ers, no one wants to see the Detroit Lions in the playoffs. Let's find another hot take. Giants. No one should be surprised that the Giants are 1-4. No one should be surprised that the Giants are 1-4. If you've been a follower of my content, whether here on YouTube or on the DCMD podcast, wherever you could get your podcast, you can subscribe and all of that over there. I've been screaming it from the mountaintops. The only reason why the Giants played well last year is because they overachieved with the easiest schedule in the league. And when the schedule came out this year, I looked at that schedule and I said, this is not the easiest schedule in the league. That means they're going to come back down to earth. So while people were running around talking about how good Dayball was, and the Giants foolishly went out here and paid a bag to retain Daniel Jones. And they played hardball with Saquon, so much so that he's on Zooms complaining to other running backs. And now they go out here and they're 1-4 through 5 games. And it's not even, to me, the hardest part of their schedule. Because you're looking at what they got coming up. Bills, Commanders, Jets, Raiders, Cowboys, Commanders. Where's the win? You can sell me on one of the Commander games. You can sell me on the Jets and the Raiders and the Patriots. But that's about it. What's that? 5? If you want to give them all those wins, that's 5 wins. So that's a 6-win season. So what were they, 10-6 last year? 9-7. 9-7-1 last year to 6-10 at their peak this year. Yeah, that tells you last year, that proves without a shadow of a doubt last year was a fluke. All right, what else? I'll give 2 more hot takes. Okay. Here's a fantasy one. And hopefully no one in my league is watching. Matthew Stafford's going to put up a lot of numbers. Nakua and Cooper Kupp are going to run crazy. And Matt Stafford, if there's one thing he could do, is chuck the rock. I'm still not that high on him as a quarterback overall, but there's one thing he could do, he could chuck the rock. Great value if you could get Matthew Stafford in fantasy, because I think now with Nakua and Cooper Kupp being healthy, I think they're going to put up some really big numbers. They're going to become like a just a pass first Viking style offense, because the running game, even though Karen Williams had a good couple of weeks early on, the strength of this team is the receiving core. Tutu Atwell now is your slot guy, and you got Nakua and Cooper Kupp, who are both interchangeable and they move around. And no. Matthew Stafford, really, he could put up top 10 QB value from this point on out. There's your fantasy advice. Let's see. Oh, Desmond Ridder finally had a game. Desmond Ridder finally had a game. But let's go ahead and break down these numbers, though. Okay. I know Pitts had double-digit targets. What about everybody else? So Cal Pitts had 11 targets. Drake London had 9. Jonnu Smith had 7. Bijan only 2 targets out the backfield. Okay? So, if you're only going to throw the ball 37 times is a lot, but they've been averaging high 20s. If Drake London and Cal Pitts are supposed to be the two guys that you were telling us that they were, this is what they should be getting every game. It should be 20 targets between the two of them. I've been yelling it from the mountaintops, because there will be games where one of them will get a lot of targets, but the other wouldn't. And I'm like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Why is Mac Hollins getting more targets than Drake London? Why is Jonnu Smith getting equal targets to Cal Pitts? It doesn't make sense. Yesterday was the first game of the 5 games where there was a concerted effort by the Atlanta Falcons to get Drake London and Cal Pitts the ball. Now, strangely enough, that came at the expense of Bijan, which is also silly. And everyone's going crazy over the one-hand catch that was kind of, behind his back or whatever. But my main thing is, if you're throwing the ball 37 times, I should see double-digit targets for London, Pitts, and Bijan. Between the 3 of them, it should be 30 targets. And then whatever's left, you can sprinkle it to whoever. But if these 3 dudes are on the field at the same time, you can't cover all of them. One of them got to be open on every play. One of them is open on every play. When you go back and watch the All-22, one of them is open. Now, through the first quarter of the season, it was always Cal Pitts. And the targets just weren't there. Whether Ridder wasn't looking at him or he was the 4th read on the play, I don't know. Yesterday was the first time in 5 games where the first or second read was Pitts in London. How that needed to be an adjustment 4 or 5 weeks in, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. But if that's going to be the game plan going forward, then the Falcons will look like a serious team. Now, with all that being said, they almost still lost to the goddamn Texans. Okay? So, but they found a way at the crib and they got it done. But the main thing for me is target share. Who are you trying to get the ball to? So, Falcons maybe turned a corner. I don't know how hot of a take that is, but it is what it is. And the last one before I wrap it up. Kansas City Chiefs are not going to win the Super Bowl. I said it in week 1. People thought I was just reacting to the Lions loss. Nah. The Kansas City Chiefs are not going to win the Super Bowl. I would take whatever odds right now to put on them to not win the Super Bowl. I would take it. I would take it. Yeah, it's nothing to do with injuries, nothing to do with Mahomes. It's not him. It's none of that. None of that. It's just, I think they were able to get that chip last year because everything that needed to break right broke right. I don't foresee that happening again this year. The AFC is better from top to bottom, and I think if it's the 49ers, they can certainly take care of the Kansas City Chiefs. Certainly. All right, let's see. Yeah, we'll wrap that up here. For those who want to tap into the D Sandy podcast, you'll be getting an episode later on this week. Was meaning to get that done last week, but life was life in last week. Had a lot of things going on, so could not get that done. But I have my topics. I have them locked and loaded. I did even more research. More stuff has happened, so you will be getting that episode later in the week. So, but glad I was able to pop in for this quick live stream, just an hour today, but trying to get back in the groove here. So salute to those who pulled up. Derpy was in chat earlier, so salute who was able to pull up. And be sure to come up here next time, because I definitely will be back. I'll probably check in. Let's aim for Thursday. Thursday, I'm going to pull up, probably get the pod on Friday, and then we'll take it into the weekend, and we'll try to run this same type of schedule back next week, all right? Sound good for y'all? Cool. For Timeline T, I am the Sandy, a.k.a. Sandy Jr. Subscribe and all that type of good stuff if you're new here to the channel on YouTube. But salute. All right? Peace.